When it comes to human behaviour, we'd like to think that we have more agency over our choices than perhaps a dog. You've probably heard of classical conditioning or the famous experiment by a psychologist called Ivan Pavlov, where he showed that dogs and humans are all responsive to stimuli and their influence over our behaviour. It falls into the category of a form of learning, and what happens is that the conditioned stimulus becomes associated with an unconditioned stimulus in order to produce a behavioural response, what's called the conditioned response. So Pavlov paired the meat powder with lots of different neutral stimuli like the sound of a bell. And what he found was that as time went on, the dog would start salivating simply with the sound of a bell. If you want to know more about that particular experiment, you can look it up on Wikipedia or whatever, but there are actually plenty of examples of how neutral stimuli can become a conditioned stimulus through association with an unconditioned stimulus in humans. Think about what happens as you drive along the highway on a road trip. You see the Golden Arches of McDonald's. Because McDonald's has become associated with you satisfying your hunger, you become hungry and you might salivate. See? You're just like Pavlov's dog. Or in a hotel, the concierge begins to respond every time he or she hears the ringing of a bell. Because the bell has become associated with the sight of customers needing assistance, the bell has become a conditioned stimulus. Or while you're on holiday, you eat some fish that you've never eaten before, but you become sick shortly after. While the food you ate was previously what we might call a neutral stimulus, it becomes a conditioned stimulus through its association with the unconditioned stimulus, which was the illness. And as a result, you might develop a taste aversion in which just the idea of eating that same food again causes you to feel sick. Learning is a part of a field of psychology called behaviorism, but there's more to psychology than behaviorism. Psychology and behavior is a really complex area, and that's why good psychologists take what's called a paradigmatic approach. If you like, I'll talk about some of the other paradigms in psychology in future posts.